Welcome to the ZiaWoolz StudioBuzz podcast. This is episode number 8, and my name is Doc, and I am coming to you from Albuquerque in New Mexico in the beautiful southwestern desert. This is a podcast about knitting, spinning, sometimes crochet, and about all the beautiful things that you can make with wool and with yarn. So I'm here to talk to you about what I have been up to in the past 2 weeks. So let's get started. I have to say at first that I'm wearing a warm jacket. I had all the windows open, but there's construction across the street from us. They're building a house and it's quite noisy, so I had to close the window, and I think this will make me hot very soon. Just a word about it. It is a cardigan that I made roughly a year ago from all hand spun. It is a blend of about 90% Rambouillet alpaca, Rambouillet, and which is a sheep breed similar to merino, and about 10% of alpaca fiber. And it's yummy and soft. And what I did for this, in case you're interested, is I grabbed a bunch of braids that were not really initially meant to go together, but I just thought I'll try mixing them very randomly. I spun a thin yarn, did a 2-ply yarn, and so as you can see, it's very random in the colors. And I knitted it, I want to say on 4mm needles. I hope I'm not lying. And I started from the top. I made this big collar first, and then I did a little bit of a neck shaping. I did a little bit of short rows. So imagine this shortened, it would kind of form a little bit more of an open neckline. I don't know. I thought I'd try how that looks like, and I like it very much. I did put buttonholes in it, but never put buttons on because I don't really need to close it. One thing that I wanted to tell you about it also is that when I made this, I wanted this snuggly and cozy thing, and I thought I'm going to make it nice and big and it's going to be almost like a blanket, but I had gone down too far here, so my sleeves were this wide, and once I had done the body, started the first sleeve, and that's when I realized I don't like it at all. It looked horrible. I don't know, it's maybe a fashion style that you had in the 80s or something, but it doesn't work anymore. So the sleeves, I did end up liking them much better, more fitted. So I had to rip back the body, shorten the raglan here, and that way my stitch count for the sleeves was greatly reduced, and now I have the sleeve the way I want it, much better. So, and as I thought, I am too warm. Okay, so on to what's been happening now. So as I mentioned last time, and as some of you know, if you have followed me on Instagram, I had a studio tour open house where in our neighborhood, a few artists open their homes, and people can stop by and look at what they've made and possibly purchase something. And that has just happened the past Saturday, just 2 days ago. And it was a really lovely event. I always like doing it because I like meeting the people, and I like talking to you, and I like to, I like to talk about what I make, and I like to hear what you make. And So it's always fun. So I had a lot of people that I had not seen before stop by. I had people that had visited in previous years, and I had people that I know from my yarn store here in Albuquerque, and I have a lot of friends. So thank you to everybody who stopped by, and I get a lot of well wishes from the people who couldn't make it because they don't live here, so thank you for that as well. And so the studio tour is what really took up a lot of my knitting time, and also because I had to prep the house so it looked pretty, which it doesn't always do. There's usually yarn everywhere and knitting projects. So, but I wanted to show you because I talked about the fingerless mitts that I make. I have a lot of my yarns, of course, obviously, which is that's my business now. But as I was transitioning from hand knitted items that I sold, I still try to have the fingerless mitts for the people who visit the studio tour and are looking for Christmas gifts or something to purchase for themselves. And these are always something that everybody seems to like, so I made a lot of those. But it turned out this year there were more people who were coming for the yarn than for the hand knits. So I did sell a few of my fingerless mitts, but I still have a lot left, which means I can show you everything that I have made. I sold maybe 5 pairs, so there's still all of these left, but they look so pretty, don't you think? And I'm going to show you the pair, which was the last one that I made, which was my favorite yarn of all the ones that I used. And that is this one. I'm going to put one on. I make them fairly long so you have a good warming effect, and these were made with 5mm needles, and I have made up the pattern myself so it's adjustable for a different gauge. For the 5mm needles pair, I have cast on, I use DPNs, I cast on 4 times 7 stitches, so 7 stitches per needle. I knit 1 round, then I purl 1 round, and then I knit 13 rounds before I start the gusset for the thumb. I make 1 stitch, I knit 2 rounds, I make 2 stitches left and right of this first gusset stitch, knit 2 rounds, and so on until I have a stitch count of, well, let's put it this way, if half of my stitches are 14 in this case, then I know my thumb will need 1 stitch less, which is 13. But since I am making 2 stitches in here, I know I'm going to do my gusset increases until I have 11 stitches. Then I make 2 stitches in here so the mitt is a little bit wider here, and then I finish it. And for the thumb, then I pick up 2 stitches where the 2 new ones were made, and then I knit up as many rounds as I want. Of course, also the length of the hand here is totally adjustable, and you can do it as long as you want. I usually pick these fun numbers that I like, 13 here, and that's easy to remember, and usually 17 rows for here, and I think I cast off in the 10th round on my thumb. Oh, and by the way, don't think that I am Superwoman and I have made all of these this year. Some of these were left still from last year, so I'm fast on these because I've made so many, but I'm not that fast. And I had previously shown you Polwarth hand spun yarn, and those were, I think it was like 5 or 6 ounces. I had 2 skeins of a 2-ply, and this is what I have left. And I wanted to show you 1 pair. I got 3 pairs from this yarn and 2 pairs sold, and this is one that was left. So these were done, as far as I remember, with 4.5 millimeter needles, which brought my stitch count to 8 stitches per needle. And so the amount of thumb stitches is 16 minus 1, 15 stitches. So the gusset needs 13 stitches, and then I cast on 2. I hope that makes sense. I mean, I don't even know if you're interested in this, but if you have any question about this, it's not a pattern, it's more like a concept. So let me know if you're interested and you have a question about it, okay? So those were my fingerless mitts. So they'll just stay in a bin until next year, unless someone shoots me a message, I need a pair, can I buy this? Whatever. Okay. That was one of my knitting, I shouldn't call it a project, but well, many projects, but yeah, not really like fun knitting, I would say. Yeah, I shouldn't say that. It was fun knitting, but you know, it's for business. So on to another funny thing. So, well, we all look at the project on Ravelry, whatever is popular and whatnot, and I'm on Instagram, I'm Paperdag on Instagram, so I have a lot of knitters whom I follow, and so you see things and you're like, oh, that would be so cute. And that was for me color work. So I had talked about this before. I was planning to make the September Stars beanie. I picked my yarn, I purchased yarn, I looked at my own yarn. I mean, I've talked about this many times. I finally started. And here is the pattern again, if you have not seen it. And I started the first one, and now finally with my own Mesa yarn, which is a blend of merino, alpaca, and silk. And I adore the colors together. Here they are. These 3, sorry about the messy bunching up with the blue here. And here is the beginning of my hat. I did this probably about 10 days ago, and I thought it would be a quick knit because it's only a hat. But I need to confess, I did not enjoy this at all. I don't know, I had a hard time with it. I cannot even wrap my head around what exactly did that. But I talked to a friend about it the other day, and somehow I remembered what she had told me about her color work, and turned out when we looked at this together that I have really not picked the right yarn for color work, because with the silk content, it's a very slippery yarn. So it's not like, I think you're supposed to use a more grabby yarn and maybe more rustic altogether. So I don't know, maybe that's what made it harder for me. I think I'm gonna finish this eventually. I'm not even sure about the size. It may fit me. I think it should. Yeah, I have a big head. That's why it looked kind of smallish to me. But we'll see. There's other people who I'm sure would like it. So that was the September Stars beanie. I'm not calling it a fail yet because it kind of looks cute, but whatever. Knitting, more knitting. What happened was that last week, I think I was still working on the fingerless mitts, and all of a sudden my daughter comes by and she's like, "When are you finally finishing my sweater?" And it was kind of like I had waited for her to say that, because I kept doing other things first, and it's kind of nice when someone wants something that you make for them. And so that was kind of like my push to pick up her sweater finally. So what I am making is the Daylin sweater by Isabel Kramer, which is also knitted in that same yarn that I showed you the hat of. And in fact, I stole a little bit of the blue from her sweater for the hat. So I picked it up, and I pretty much finished one sleeve in a day. It's really not too bad. That's really quick knit. I'm knitting my sleeves on DPNs usually. I don't mind DPNs, I like it. And I have just put the stitches for the second sleeve on the needles. So I'm thinking that I'm probably gonna finish this sleeve today or tomorrow, and then I still need to do the neck ribbing, which won't be a big deal at all. And then it's weave in the ends, which are not many either. And then this is done, just a quick block, and she can have it. We've had a few super mild days, so it's not that you would really need a very warm sweater right now, just more in the mornings or in the evenings when you're out late. So the Daylin sweater by Isabel Kramer, as you may recall, I had started one where I wanted to modify the neckline to a V-neck, which didn't work out at all in my modified stitch count, which I thought I had to modify, but I'll tell you more once I have that restarted, and I'll tell you then, or try to explain to you how my thinking had worked, where I made the mistake to mess up in the stitch count. So, but I haven't gotten to that. I did, however, make something else in the meantime, and that was such a fun knit. So I had recently, I've been thinking about making a sweater for my son also. I have two children. My daughter is 16, my son is 18, and I wanted to I'm thinking about making a sweater for him as well. He's into the dark, more dark colors, and Fiona's sweater is a non-superwash, but I'm not worried. She's super careful, but with a young man, I'm not sure that it doesn't accidentally get in the washing machine. So I was looking at some superwash, and I like yarns that have a chainette construction, because it makes a really beautiful fabric. I like that. I know that Rowan had a yarn that was done that way. It's discontinued, sadly, and my friend, the local yarn store owner, she was making a sweater with it, beautiful fabric. And when I saw that one of my wholesale suppliers has this yarn, I thought, oh, I'm going to give this a try. So I bought like 10 skeins, and I have dyed up 2 of them, one for myself and one for my friend, the yarn store owner, who also loves that type of yarn construction. And however, I need to tell you right away that I will not be adding this to my shop, because apparently this yarn, when there is a break and they need to reconnect in a skein, it can't be done by splicing the way they would normally do it because of the construction of the yarn. So what they do, and don't ask me how this happens, because I feel like I'd rather have them do a knot than what they ended up doing. They do something with a plastic material that does not take up the dye. So when you dye a skein that has one of those joins, then you have a white spot that's almost over 1/4 inch long, which nobody wants. And I feel like if I offered you that yarn for sale and you got a skein with a white spot in it, you'd be like, what the heck is this? I mean, I would say that myself if I got a skein like that. So, but for myself, it's totally fine. I know what's going on. I'm going to treat it like a knot and cut it out and change to a new skein on the seam or something, so it's easy to weave in. That's the way I usually do it. But in the meantime, I wanted to knit with this, and I have made another Graham hat. And it's a pattern that I really like, and I've made several of them. And I had dyed this custom colorway for my son, and you can hopefully see the construction of the yarn. It's blues and blacks, very dark, and it's a very soft feel. It's a 100% merino super wash. I ended up knitting the hat with 6mm needles. I had everything in my little basket here with my liner that I recently made. And here's the hat. And you know, same as when my daughter asked for when her sweater is done, it made me so happy. I made the hat for him. We tried it on. It turned out okay. I said I need to weave in the ends, so I took it back down. And then the next morning, the hat was gone. And later when he got up, I said, so what happened to the hat? I thought I had it here. Did you go and get it upstairs? And he said, yes. So he came down and brought his hat upstairs with me, which made me so happy. I'm sure you can relate. Every knitter probably can. So a little bit of information about the hat. Like I said, 6mm needles. And what I did was, again, this is how I keep my DPNs. I sew these wide elastics together, and I put on the number in millimeters in a Sharpie. And then when I am making hats where I need a very small circular needle, I just stick it in here with that. The original pattern makes this hat slouchy. However, my son and me too, we like the fitted ones better. I don't know. I've made a slouchy hat for myself. I don't like myself too much in those. So I have kind of optimized the crown decreases for this, and I'm not sure, I don't think I put it in my project notes. So it goes about like this. So I knit 13 rounds with a twisted rib to make the stitches pop. And then I go in the stitch pattern as it is in the original pattern. I go for 20 rounds, and then I start the decreases, which is here already. I like a nice round shape. So the way I do this then is I knit, so I do the decreases. In this case, I had a stitch count of 90, and so I do 9 decreases per round. So I did my decreases, then I knitted 5 rounds in pattern, decrease, knitted 4 rounds in pattern, decrease, 3, decrease, 2, decrease, one more time, 2, decrease 1, and then decrease the next round. So this is, with my trial and error runs of previous hats, turned out to give you a beautiful shape. I'm gonna put it on. I don't know how that's gonna go down, but you should see. So his head is probably slightly bigger than mine, so it's perfect. Good, now he can have it back. Graham hat, very nice pattern. I love the stitch. Oh, I didn't show you. Look at the back. I love this too. Right? Give me 1 second. I hear the cat screaming. So I'm back. Munchkin usually spends the nights with my son when he's here over the weekend, but then the door is closed, and at some point she wants to get out, and he sleeps so soundly that he does not hear her, but I hear her from down here. So back to knitting, fuzz in the air, and to spinning. So I have one more project that I wanted to show you, and that is, as you may guess, my beautiful A Girl's Best Friend shawl. I have not knitted a lot on this. I think I was just past this fat green stripe. So I added a few more rows, and I'm still very much in love with this. So pretty. So I'm making this with MJ yarns. I had purchased the yarn at the Wool Festival in Taos, and all 3 yarns are singles, and I'm using 3.5 millimeter needles, the ZiaWoolz red lace, which I love. They're pointy but not too much, and I love the cable here, which is kind of a little more firm and not so twirly. I like that a lot. This is in one of the project bags that I have made. The zombie pinups, that's what it's called. Yep. And what I did is I made this little cord from the yarns that I'm using, so that in case I haven't used it in a while and I want to know which bag it's in, I know exactly this is the one. In regards to spinning, I have spun the poonies that I had shown you last time. Now, I do not know what happened to my tag, but I will put the name of Sherry's shop on the screen for you. This is the yarn that I got from it. It's very textured, which I really love, and it has these colorful bits of silk and bamboo, and otherwise I think it's merino that she puts in these. And I know her shop is reopened if you want to take a peek. It's Twisted Dye Kitchen, and she has, I've seen that she's put a bunch of those poonies in there right now. I have also received a beautiful bat from her, but I have not started spinning that yet. So I'm looking forward to that. You may remember that I also made a few poonies. I shouldn't even call them poonies because mine are not worthy of the same term than the beautiful things that Sherry makes. But still, I got some beautiful yarn even from those wonky things that I did. And I'm thinking I could even use it together. I am probably gonna make some fingerless mitts for myself, and I may add this just for the fun of it, like in the cuff, and each one like 1 or 2 rows of this one. So I'm excited that I have that done. It's a 2-ply in case you haven't seen that, and I haven't measured the yardage. I'm pretty sure it's going to be just fine for a pair of fingerless mitts. Those take about 2 ounces of yarn, and this was a little bit over 2 ounces. So that was that, and I have started spinning for my sweater, for the fog cutter that I have talked about previously, and I had a little sample knit, and but that's going to take me quite some time until I have that done. Sweater quantity, as I said. I have spun one more yarn, and it's the yarn that I had gotten from a local farm here in New Mexico. It's a 100% alpaca, and I had hoped to be able to make the Siri cardigan with it, but I did not get the yardage. Plus, at the end of my, what was in my bag of fiber had some browns mixed in, so it was the mill end, and it was probably by accident they had some brown mixed in. So I'm pretty sure while you cannot see it in the skein, when you knit it up, you're gonna see it. But I decided to spin that bit with the brown anyways, because I thought, oh, well, if I'm really short on yarn, I can always use that in, like, distribute evenly on the cuffs, but it's not a whole lot, so it's not going to make a difference in regards to that Siri cardigan. But it's this skein, and I don't know, I cannot really tell that there's brown in it. It's really just a hint, but I marked it so I know that was that one, so I don't accidentally put that in the middle somewhere. I went browsing on Ravelry a few days ago, and I found a cardigan pattern where I thought, oh, I did see a few pictures of where people had changed it. The original pattern has long sleeves, but some people have made it with 3/4 sleeves or half sleeves even. And so I thought this one's going to work perfectly for my yarn. Maybe it also, because the original pattern is knitted up in a gray yarn, maybe that's what got me there as well. And the cardigan is called Arona. Modern couture, modern culture, pardon. So I'm not quite sure when I'm going to get going on this. I would love to cast on right away, but I have paced myself, and I'm committed to finishing Fiona's sweater first, and before I start a sweater for myself, for sure. So this is one of the options. However, I need to show you that I was a bad girl because I was about to run out of yarn. Not. I had to buy some new yarn. Ah, goodness, yeah. Who runs out of yarn, right? That does not ever happen. Well, my yarn store here in Albuquerque, and I love them to death. So they had a party that they had their anniversary party, and I went there, and they always have a good sale going for that, and I do love to support them. So when I see something that I love, I shop, or I should say it was the other way around. I was looking if I could find a sweater's quantity of yarn, and so that's what I did. I actually saw some Rowan felted tweed in a colorway that I really liked, but they didn't have enough skeins of that. And I am planning to make this sweater. It has I don't even know what that's called. It has a pattern knitted in, but I think it's a plain stockinette sweater, and the pattern is made with, no, you can't see it on that other picture either. The pattern is just created by purl stitches, I believe. Let me try to show you again. The sweater is called Tolmi. There you go. And it is by Jose Paquin. I have no idea how to say the last name. I'll put that on the screen for you. And the yarn, while I was really trying to find a green like this, but like I said, there wasn't enough. But I do have another. I made the Emily cardigan 2 years ago in a green, so I thought, oh, whatever, I'll just pick something different, and I ended up deciding on the Elspeth Lavold on the silky wool, and it was really a choice for the color because it has well, I don't know, in real life it looks a little bit more lavenderish than I see it here on the screen, so I'm not quite sure how that comes across for you, but the color number is 185, and it is a blend of 45 wool, 35 silk, and 20% nylon. And it kind of proves my point that as soon as you start talking about not really being into a certain color, that color is what you're drawn to. You just say it out loud, then the opposite's going to happen. Because I keep telling you, I'm not really into blues, I'm more into the greens, and then here I show you more blue again. Yes. So that was Stash Enhancement, Happy Stash Enhancement. Let's see when I cast that on. I also have to get back to my lint sweater, my Daylin from the Handspun. So a whole bunch of sweater ideas, and I need more time, more hours in my day to knit all the sweaters, right? Okay, we'll see what happens in the next weeks. Thanksgiving is coming up, and we will be traveling a little bit. Also, my mom is coming into town, so yay for Oma, and I am keeping my fingers crossed. I would love for her to be on the podcast. So while she does not speak English, you will see her in person, and hopefully she will be able to show you what she's knitting on. And this is all kind of like the language of knitters, right? We communicate with yarn and colors and whatever we make, and that's going to be just fine, I'm pretty sure of it. And maybe she can show you also the ginormous memory blanket, sock memory blanket that she has made for us in the previous 2 years. She originally made it 2 years ago, but then she made it a little bit larger last year. So it's really a huge blanket, and it's so beautiful. I'm sure you're gonna love it too. So there's going to be, what I meant to say is I'm going to be having knitting time when we travel, and also knitting time when I sit and catch up with Mom, and we kind of enjoy each other's company. That's kind of really our thing, as you can imagine. So I'm looking forward to that. Another thing that I wanted to mention is I went to a local craft show, which is one of my favorites because I met a friend of mine, actually two friends of mine. I met them there when they were selling some handmade items for the first time. So, which is kind of, that's why this show is kind of dear to me, because I've made these wonderful friends there. And there was a lot of kind of these knick-knack, glittery, weird things that are not really for me, but I did find something that I meant to show you because I love this so much. And this gal was really, she had beautiful things and also quite affordable, and she does have an Etsy shop, so that's the main thing. And this is what I got from her. It is a wristlet. I don't think it's meant as a project bag because it's a little bit too small. It's probably more like a, wristlet, a purse. And it is lined with kind of this cushy stuff. And I just adore this detail with the glittery vinyl bottom here. That's so unique and different. And she also had a little, I don't know what it is, a makeup bag from the same fabric. That just wanted to come home too. So the wristlet bag has one inside pocket. It's kind of hard to see because the rest of it is black, but then this is in the fabric here. So cute and really beautifully made. And her name is Sushi Girl. Really nice. Yeah. So go and take a peek. I haven't looked what she has in her online shop, but it may be worth looking, especially if you look for gifts with Christmas coming up now. But I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to keep this for myself. So what else? I have a big pile of things that will be going in the shop during this week. Be patient with me because I'm not going to be able to do all at once, and I don't usually sell out, so I'm not going to put them all in at a certain time because nobody goes crazy over this stuff. So it's all good. And so one of the things that I finally made that I have been thinking about making for a very long time is to put all the Beekeeper colorways together in one mini skein set, and this I have finally done. I'm so happy about these. They're so pretty. And I have done this on my towel space, which is the Corriedale nylon blend, the superwash Corriedale. And a word about the base. I call it my rustic sock yarn just because it's more rustic than the merino. However, as soon as you wash this and I actually throw it in the washing machine. I have a front loader on, I mean, of course not on hot, but as soon as you do this, this becomes the most fuzzy, warm, snuggly, soft sock. I adore this, really. So that's my Taos Corriedale base. In the mini skein sets here, you will get 8 minis of 10 grams each. So you could make scrappy socks, but of course you could just also hoard them and put them on your pile of favorites if you care to do that. So happy about the beekeeper family. This has the beekeeper, the beekeeper's best friend, the beekeeper's apprentice, the beekeeper's son, the beekeeper's boyfriend, the beekeeper's daughter, beekeeper in love, and beekeeper in the garden. And each skein is labeled individually, just so you know which one is the one you love, and in case you want to get a full skein of one of the colorways. So these will go in the shop. I have 5 of these. And then it was so funny. I need to tell you this story. So Debbie and Amy both have some of my project bags. And I have mentioned that before. I make project bags, but I usually sell them on consignment at the yarn store. I don't even put them in the shop because yeah, the main reason is that I don't put interfacing or any, I mean, I put a lining in, but not interfacing. So I've always wanted the people who buy them to be able to feel them and see that. But now that I can talk about this, I can tell you there's no interfacing in my project bags, and they're kind of floppy, scrunchable. You can stuff them in your purse, and if they get dirty, you can wash them over and over again, which is kind of something that I appreciate. We have cats, and I throw the bags all over the place, and they end up in the car on the floor, and so that's a good thing for me personally. And so Debbie and Amy of the Periscoping Sisters, they both have some of my bags, and they started talking about them as the DAG bags, which I adore, right? And even though I now have ZiaWoolz labels, I wish I had DAG bag labels, honestly. Wouldn't that be the coolest? But for now, I have to sew about 200 project bags with the ZiaWoolz label before I can really, before it's reasonable to get DAG bag labels. But stay tuned, maybe in 5 years, who knows? So I brought over all the bags that I will put in the shop. So if you like that type of bag that I described, that's where you find them, in the shop with my yarns. And I make the bags in 3 sizes: sweater, shawl, and sock size. And let me just show you the ones that I'm going to put in the shop. This is sweater, my pinup zombie ladies. I love them so much. And as you can see, they all have handles, and the handles are lined with velvet ribbon. On the inside, most of the time I put flannel, and that's this. And I know that on the zombie bag, it had the same lining. Coffee. I usually put different fabrics on front and back. That's kind of my thing too. I like doing that because I love the different fabrics. Here is another one in the shawl size, which is very much travel themed, and it has on this side, it says Wyoming, Hawaii, are we there yet? Boston, New England, Chicago, Galveston, Wyoming, so nice. And then, of course, all the license plates. Sock size, front and back. I use these guys with the zip up, with the pinup girls, and the neutral back. I used to call these naughty or nice when I printed my own labels, but it's just not doable since I have these printed. My tags here say, knitting like a boss, project bag by ZiaWoolz. Sizes are my socks plus gum, my shawl and chocolate, my sweater plus gummy bears. And then I mark it like this. Here's cats. What's in here? Let's take a peek. Flowers. Sheep in a sock size. This lining. Yarn on the back. Oh, here's one that I really like. And pencils on the back. What does it have on the inside? Pattern. Another sheep one. Then if I have two of the same, sometimes I switch the color of the zippers. I didn't do that in this case. Or I switch the color of the lining, which I did here. Oh, here's another fun one. Aliens in Volkswagen buses with polka dots and a dotted lining. More sheep. Little ones. And a pearl knit fabric. Oh, flowers on the inside. And I do have one Christmas bag left, which is a square size. That was a new to me size, a square sock. This has dogs. And on the back it has the cowboy boots. And the lining is not a flannel in this case. I think I wanted to match the color on the outside. That's why I picked this Christmas fabric. And well, this I did call this a sock bag, but I wanted to show you for reference. This is that skein of for my sweater. So you easily get two skeins in here. Or one skein plus your knitting and your ball of yarn. Up to you how much you like to squeeze in. So these are the bags that are going to go in the shop, and I brought some of the yarns that I have dyed and that will go in the shop, and I hope you're going to like them as much as I do. I brought the Beekeeper's Daughter, which you may remember is the yarn that I have used for the Southern shawl up here. And this is a pattern by Truly Myrtle Designs that I have modified, and let me show you. The original pattern is written for one skein, but this section between my thumbs, I added that to have a larger shawl, and otherwise the lace would start here. So it would be probably only this big, about roughly, quite a bit smaller. And I have used about 1.5 skeins of my MCN ZiaWoolz, the Zia Zen base, which is this one. Okay, there was another one of this. This is the new one that I have never shown before, which is the Beekeeper in the Garden. And then there is the original Beekeeper. And the ZiaZen, in case you're interested, has 4 ounces and 460 yards. It's an 80-10-10 superwash merino cashmere nylon. Beautiful hand. I wanted to knit with it before I added it to the shop, and I was really impressed with it. And I have worn this quite a bit so far, and I cannot even tell that it's been used, really. Here is another one of the beekeeper family, same base, and this is the beekeeper's boyfriend. And then one more on ZiaZen, which is called Where is Willie? Reference to Willie Nelson, about at the time when he was supposed to have a concert in Albuquerque, and I was so looking forward to that. Willie ended up getting sick and did not come. I created this colorway, couldn't think of a name, and all of a sudden I thought of Willie, and I thought, where is Willie? That's the name for the colorway. In case you were wondering. Okay, and then I have to show you one of my new colorways that didn't just get me excited, but apparently that really got a lot of you out there excited too. A lot of the people that have seen it on Instagram loved it as well, and that is my new colorway called Pioneer Woman. I am currently reading a book, and I apologize. I will put the name of the book on the screen. I haven't brought it over here, but this is a book that talks about all the smart and brave women that have made the journey in the last century, no, actually in the 1800 somethings, out west, and it recalls their stories. And I think it's called Arizona Women. Oh, whatever, I'll put it on the screen. And it touches me to read about these women, and it, you know, as a kid you grow up with these cowboy movies, and it's just where they shoot, and Indians are the people who are painted red in the face. I mean, we all know how weird these movies were, right? No relation to what happened for real, and you don't even think about these people. And when you're here, I mean, now that I live here, I have a totally different relationship to that. I have a totally new appreciation for these people who came here with barely anything and made a life here. And it really, yeah. Think about it. So when I came up with this, so I had to come up with a colorway that honors these women who were so brave, who gave up so much and didn't even know where they were going. And so that's how Pioneer Woman came to life. Bold, beautiful, strong. I first dyed this on my worsted weight base, which is the Duke, this one, and that's my favorite. You know, it takes dyes. The dyes always take a little bit differently, and so I brought you all other 4 bases that I dyed it on. And a lot of people that saw it at the studio tour liked it on my Sugarloaf base, which is a superwash merino light fingering weight, and that has about 550 yards. It's pretty. I did want to mention, I'm small production here, and what I usually do is I do maybe 1 or 2 weeks where I dye speckle, then I have another 1 or 2 weeks where I do immersion dyeing. And for the studio tour open house here, I dyed almost exclusively speckled yarns, and I meant to dye a little bit more of the immersion because it's kind of nice if you have a more solid yarn and you can combine it with a speckled yarn. But I ended up running out of time. However, I dyed a yellow, which I call Gold Rush, and it's dyed in 3 layers of different yellows, and it's really beautiful. But I dyed another colorway that I hadn't done in a long time, and the original was paler, but it doesn't matter. I just brought this the way it's gonna look like from now on in the future is a little bit stronger in value, and it's so nice. It's one of those where you're like, wow, layers are really amazing. You can create amazing things, and it's kind of hard to appreciate. You need a lot of light for this to see how much is in there. Look at that. Greens, purples, all the shades, mossy, blues. I like it. So that's yeah. Look at these two. Both, each in its own, so much beauty. And I'm not talking about my own dyeing. I'm just talking about speckling versus layering dyes. So I'm looking around to see if I have forgotten to talk about something, but I do not think I have. And well, that's it for this time. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. I'm totally looking forward to talking to you again in about 2 weeks, and I hope in the meantime you enjoy what you are working on. If you care to do so, I would love for you to leave a comment and to stop by in the group on Ravelry, where we do have the knit along going until the end of January. It's the knit along for the A Girl's Best Friend shawl by Isabel Kramer. And if you are joining, please use the hashtag ZiaWoolz A Girl's Best Friend Cal. Don't feel like you need to use my yarn. I wasn't sure if there were any other knit alongs going. That's how I wanted to keep ours separate. I hope you're going to join me and all the other group members who have started that shawl. It's really a fun knit, and it does remind me, I need to add this story for you. There was a lady who came by at the studio tour who brought me a shawl. It's one of Andrea Maury's, I think it was her last mystery knit along, where and that the lady who came to visit brought me her shawl to show how hers turned out, that she had made from ZiaWoolz. And I will add a few pictures and videos at the end of the episode for you so you can see them. So, and the reason what made me think of her shawl is the Andrea Maury shawl has tassels. And what she did is she wasn't sure about the tassel thing, and same as me about the pom-poms with the A Girl's Best Friend shawl. So she attached her tassels onto these progress keepers that are like earrings, that have the hook and then the flip over closure. So she sewed a progress marker like that That's what she used. She even has the little silvery bits still on there, but she added her tassel, and I think that's what I'm gonna do with the pom-pom. And that way, because I like the pom-poms, but I thought maybe I'm gonna get fed up with them. But then again, the perfect solution would be to have it flexible, right? So, well, you will see her shawl in the pictures at the very end. Enough said. I hope to see you again in 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to it. Goodbye.